development trends. Thank you, Trish. So I know that it is our standard, our practice to continue to roll through different industries, different factors of economic development in our region, Modesto and greater area. Last month, rather, as many of you may recall, we had a really great presentation from Jalen French, Director of Community and Economic Development with our city here in Modesto, and also with Adam Barth on an update with the transit station as the transit manager here in Modesto as well. So good conversation there. Obviously, we know transportation and transit is a significant economic factor in our area here. And so it's good to have those updates, and certainly on the city's general plan and so forth as well. So great conversation last month. Glad to be back in town to help facilitate today's meeting. And as true to form, we did send out the minutes from that meeting for those of you that perhaps have had an opportunity, thanks Trish, right on call, to review those minutes. They are available for your review. If we've made any material omissions or misstatements in there, certainly stand to be corrected, and that we want to make sure that they're as accurate as possible in the process here. So having had an opportunity to review those, we would certainly accept motion for acceptance of the minutes if there's any out there.
Bill, this is John Valines. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. And typically we would have a second as well.
Second.
All right, great. Thanks, Cecil. Appreciate that. And any objections to that? I know most everybody's muted, but hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and accept those minutes as motioned and move forward from there. So I do appreciate that. What I do think that is helpful for us, just so that we can all kind of be aware of who is participating in the conversation and in the community here, particularly, again, toward the economic development conversation, I would like to go ahead and open it up for just a brief moment for each of us to go through and make introduction, name and who we're with. And if you could also please just volunteer if this is your first EDC committee meeting. I would love to know that. And each one this year, as we've continued to roll through, we've had a contingent of new folks. So I like to welcome those folks in particular. But if we could go ahead and start in on that. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out how to best see that or facilitate that on my screen here.
Call out if that would help you, Bill.
Go ahead, Trish. Thank you very much.
Marty.
Hello, this is my first meeting. I'm Marty Hackworth. I will be speaking today on the residential part of the economic development part for the speaking today. I own Hackworth Real Estate, and I'm the president of the Lodi Association of Realtors. Excuse me.
Thank you. Lisa Perrin.
Hi, I'm Lisa Perrin. I work for Summit Funding in Lodi. We're a mortgage lender, and I'm partners with Marty on a lot of business transactions. This is my first meeting, and I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say.
Awesome. Thank you. Kelly.
I'm Kelly Butler. Oh, sorry.
Which Kelly, Trish? Sorry, you're both blood. I didn't even pick up on that. So we'll go to Kelly Talent. Sorry.
No worries. Sorry, Kelly Butler. I'm not used to there being more than one Kelly. So I'm Kelly Talent. I'm the senior property manager here at Vintage Fair Mall, and I've been on a handful of EDC meetings and attended in person. So I look forward to when they're back in person again.
To that note, I'm hoping July, August. I'm waiting for furniture to arrive. The conference room is rather empty at the moment, so just not fair to even plan until we have furniture.
A place to sit would be good.
Absolutely agreed. We'll go to Kelly Butler.
I'm Kelly Butler. I work for Hackworth Real Estate, so I work for Marty.
and this is my first meeting.
Nice, thank you. Andres?
Andres Mendez with Visit Modesto.
And not your first meeting, I believe you've been to a few
Yeah.
now.
Not my first meeting.
Nice to have you. And Mr. Russell? You're muted, sir.
Sylvan Financial and the Graffiti USA Museum.
Thank you. Kirsty?
Hi there, Kirsty Boyett, Executive Director of the State Theater and Chamber Board Member. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Doris?
Hi, I'm Doris Foster, Director of Stanislaus County Workforce Development.
Thank you. Dave? White?
Dave White from Opportunity Stanislaus.
Thank you. Lisa?
Hi, Lisa Mantero Moore with Assembly Member Adam Gray's office.
Thank you. Nick?
Nick DeKuzlian, Field Representative for Stanislaus County Supervisor Manny Graywall.
Thank you. Trying to rename and call names at the same time. So, Mr. Wright.
Say, I got your name on my picture.
I'm working on it.
That's interesting. This is David Wright, the City Councilman and Wright Insurance Agency. And I had a hard time getting in today, by the way.
I apologize. You're not alone. Every person had a hard time today. So it was just your take.
I thought you banned me from attending, so I was starting to feel lonely.
Never. Michael. Michael Gaffney, are you able to unmute?
Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Michael Gaffney, PG&E Public Affairs and Chairman of the Board.
Thank you. Chris? You're now Chris.
Hey, I'm not Chris. Thanks, Trish. Chris Rickey, City Council Member for District 3 in Modesto. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Bob?
Hi, Bob Kimball, City Modesto Economic Development.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Todd. Go ahead, Bob. You should do that again.
Hi, this is Bob Kimball, City Modesto Economic Development.
Todd, you were next anyway. Go right ahead.
Todd Aronson, CEO, Visit Modesto.
You, Kaylin.
Hi, Callan Hackworth, Vice President of Hackworth Inc. My first meeting, and Marty is my husband.
Happy to have you. Adelia, sorry.
No, you had it right the first time. It's Adela. I'm Adela Riojas with Hackworth Real Estate, and this is my first meeting.
Thank you. Vanessa?
Hi, this is Vanessa Emon, the Director of Sales and Marketing for the DoubleTree by Hilton Modesto, and I have been to several Economic Development Committee meetings.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Good morning. This is Carrie Cease, and I am with Hackworth Real Estate also. This is my first meeting, and I'm a past president of Lodi Association of Realtors. And hello to Craig Lewis.
Happy to have you. Dennis?
Dennis Betancourt, formerly Trish. I'm the Director of Operations for Blue Diamond Growers here in Modesto. Also a proud Chamber Board member, and I've been to a couple of these now. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to have you again. I'm Trish Christensen, President and CEO of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce. I've always wanted a clone or two to help me get through my day, but I don't think this was the way I was thinking of doing it. So glad, I think everyone's got their own names now. So Bill, I'm gonna let you take it over and then you can introduce our first speaker.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. And my name is Bill Robinson. Glad to be able to be on video this month. Last month, I was only just the voice in the cloud. I was actually out of state and really not able to grab videos. So glad to be back in town and otherwise available to share the afternoon with you. Thank you so much to just so many of our city council and other representatives that are with us today. Looking forward to a really great conversation and glad to have you here. Certainly honored to serve as the chair of this committee and proud board member as well. just really great to see the membership and chamber community being able to come back together for things like ribbon cuttings we had yesterday and some of these other activities that are coming on. So we're excited to see the activity and glad to have the presentation today. So we do have, and actually I just had it up here in front of me just a second ago. I apologize, Trish. I was trying to see who our first presenter today. We've got two gentlemen to share.
Yeah, it'll be Craig. I just realized I
Oh.
missed Dejanay. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick? I apologize.
Oh, thank you.
More names here than I realized.
No problem. This is Dejanay Shelton. I'm the Career Services Director for Modesto Junior College and also a Chamber Board member.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dejanay. So we are very honored to have Craig presenting today. Obviously, long-standing member of this committee, just thank you for your wealth of knowledge and participation each month as we roll through, and glad to have you. I know we're kind of queued up and ready to go here. Very interested to hear what you have to share with us with regard to real estate in our region. And I think that's probably the best introduction, Craig, that I can toss over to you. And the floor is yours, sir. And it looks like we're still a little bit muted. There we go.
Thank you very much. And if I can just get this arranged right. Okay, there we go. First of all, I have to thank my office staff for helping me do this. And secondly is that it is a fairly long presentation. You're going to have to be okay with just skimming some of it with me. And I have broken into different segments. This is a presentation actually that came from CoStar. Some of you may have heard of CoStar. They also own LoopNet, which we in the commercial industry use this an awful lot. So I hope this is okay. And you can see it okay. This is an overview of the industrial sector. You'll see, and it's really Modesto centric. So those of you from San Joaquin County may not be able to relate, but at the same time, you need to be aware that we are in Modesto, as you know. There's been a lot of sizable distribution hubs that have come to this area, Winco being one. You can see in the first paragraph, CVS, Kohl's, Frito-Lay, and we are attracting cannabis companies. This is Modesto is what's called last mile distribution, which means we're just at the last mile of being able to reach into the Bay Area. And so we do have a strong and continuing to develop distribution centers here, but it's because we're just close enough, but not far. We're not too far. Second paragraph, vacancies among the Central Valley tightest. In the early days of this spring, still the market has increased from the 2017. We had an all-time low of 1.8 in our vacancy rate. Unbelievable, really, compared to most markets. It has increased a little bit because of growth, as said in the second paragraph. And it says in the third paragraph, Modesto industrial sales are off to an unprecedented start in 2001. If you skip down, it shows that there's been $100 million worth of investment before the end of March in the Modesto San County area in 2021. It really is unbelievable. And here are some of the key indicators, which I won't go through, but it shows that in industrial, this market is very, very healthy. In leasing in this area, the vacancy rates remain tight. We have now added a 369,000 square foot warehouse recently. Also, there is a large property on Finch Road that has become vacant recently. And also a Budweiser has vacated a space. And then there's a new building out in Patterson of 712,000 square feet that was built in 2018. No one has occupied that recently or since it's been built. So it's still sitting there. But the vacancy rate in the second quarter of 21 is at 3.6 and it has outpaced the area. Fourth paragraph, leasing activity has not changed dramatically since the start of the pandemic. Last year, leasing activity surpassed that of 2019, though, by approximately 5%. Going up to the top of the next column, in 2019-20, the average of about 1.3 million square feet was leased. That's an awful lot. And you can see just going through that some of the big ones have been Inno8 Partners. That's Danny, come on. I can't think of his last name all of a sudden. Anyway, he has started Costa. Thank you. He has started the Kevin's brand of meals, and he occupied 96,000. Also another 91 and a 708,000 square foot facility that's called an outlying Stanislaus County. That means outside the city boundaries. But there have been sizable spaces over the last several years with Pacific Southwest Container, CHEP, and Penn Foods. And so there has been, except for that large building out in Patterson, there's not been too much construction happen. And this is a graph that shows you the net absorption, net deliveries, and vacancy. You can see, and the one thing I want to show you is in the yellow here, the United States, we're well under in all these categories as compared to the rest of the country. And so we've done very well here in industrial. Leasing, here's the graphs of leasing. Again, the United States is above what we are. And so we're doing better than the rest of the country. Availability rate has jumped around, but recently we've been under the rest of the United States. And this is some of the net absorption that has happened in this area and where they're located. We won't go through that, but you can see some large things, large buildings have been occupied in Beard and the Morgan Series area. In addition to on Yosemite and the Modesto Industrial Park. That shows you more information there. We'll go through. What has rent done? And I think the graph says it all, is that our rents increase was quite healthy in the early, I should say the early teens, but really more the mid-teens of 2000. They dipped with the pandemic. They've increased quite a bit in the last year. And again, trending very well. We are a little bit slower, a little bit higher in our rent growth than the rest of the country, as you can see going into the future. Here is the rent. It shows it on a per square foot basis. Again, the United States is the blue line. Flex space has increased the most, but you can see we've had quite nice rental increases since 2015 and projected forward in the future. Here is the sales. As we talked about, there's been 100 million investment in the first quarter of 2021. The average, historical average is 81 million. So we've far surpassed. Interestingly enough, it's been a lot of out of the area investments. You can see in the second paragraph, a company called LBA Realty. And then you see Blackstone. Blackstone is one of the largest funds in the United States, and they have been acquiring properties here in this county, which is quite interesting, that we're starting to be noticed by the very largest of companies. A third paragraph, again, we have a New York-based LCN who has purchased land and property from companies here. And then if you go to the second paragraph, you'll see that many of you may know about this, some may not, but Save Mart Supermarkets sold a 53 property profile in the Central Valley in Northern California, and to Oak Street Real Estate Capital for $635 million. And in that, you see some of the individual transactions that were involved, including some of their warehouse and other properties in addition to some of their stores. But a very, very large transaction right here in the area. Next to last paragraph, over the last 12 months, the average transactional price is $99 a square foot. The 5-year average, in contrast, is $60. So that has increased quite a bit. Last line, private equity firms have acquired far more than half of all invested capital in Modesto since 2016. Again, we're being put on the map, and as far as the investment properties, and we have a lot of, it was very surprising to me actually, as I studied this, to see how much large investment funds are coming into our area. Here is the graphs that show that. United States is in the green. We're still way under what the national average is as far as square footage. You can see why they're coming. This is the past 12 months. You'll notice one thing on this map is that all the transactions, for the most part, are happening along the 99 corridor. Reinforces the chamber's position that a lot of commerce happens along transportation corridors, and that's why they're so important. As we look forward to 132, what is going to happen there? Are we going to be impacted by, again, transactions along the 132? Notice Turlock has picked up substantially, and of course, Patterson. This is sales price information, too much information to absorb quickly. These are the actual transactions you can see there, and you see that large out in Patterson, $58 million in the Keystone Park of Patterson. Moving right along, I've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going as quick as I can. Unemployment in our economy. In the middle of the first paragraph, the February unemployment rate was 9% after peaking at 17.2 last April of 2020. And so you can see that there has been a lot of movement in the last 12 months in this particular area. Dave White could give us even more information if we wanted to. The bottom of the second paragraph, as of March, jobs report sector employment remained about 20% below last year's peak. And so it's the effects of the, again, the economy being increased and decreased recently because of the pandemic. If you look in the middle of the right-hand side, that paragraph, it said the sector shed approximately 3,000 jobs between March and April of last year. And the like leisure and hospitality rehiring has been limited. And so that's going to be one of the slower areas of rehiring in our area. The cost of living is low, as it says in the last paragraph. And it says, thanks to the relative dearth of high-paying jobs, a number of metro residents commute to other areas, including the Bay Area and Sacramento, for more financially lucrative employment. And the trend has likely gained momentum since the start of the pandemic. As you know, in the last sentence there, Bay Area apartment vacancies have skyrocketed while the onslaught of the virus, while Modesto's multifamily vacancy rate fell to an all-time low of just 1.8 in the second quarter of 2021. These are the employment by sectors, which we won't go through. Here is the economy in a graph form. It goes to show the decrease of the pandemic, the rehiring in 2021, and the future as it will level out. Unemployment rate is still higher than national average, but certainly that gap is narrowing. Here is the forecast. It goes to show the unemployment and then the forecast graph. And then another thing that's quite interesting is what is happening to our median household income. It is definitely on the rise, and it has been, if you will, going from 50,015 to about 72, 74 as the current. So it's been quite an increase in forecast for more. Here's another graph on the population growth, what happened as compared to the United States. And here is another way of looking at the forecast. The forecast and the change in the net population. These three graphs at the bottom kind of show overview, 12-month change versus 10-year change in these three areas. You can see expected that our labor force will continue to grow. Okay, now quickly, sorry, got a lot of information in the retail. What is happening in retail? Vacancies as of the second quarter of 21, they're approximately 100 basis points above the 3-year average of 4.3. You can see that. Last number of Modesto's newest tenants target the budget conscious buyer. For example, Smart and Final has moved. A number of discounts, the DD's, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Tuesday Morning has grown quite a bit. You can see in the middle paragraph on the right hand side, more than half of the metropolitan population lives not within a 5-mile radius of Breaksmore and McHenry. And you can see that that has been more stable. We'll hear a lot more next month from the retail sector, so I'll go quick. Here are the graphs that show what has happened. You see the green is the vacancy. It was quite bad in 2018, and it's improved quite a bit. And we're now similar to the United States vacancy factors in retail. Actually, I think we're doing better here than what most places are, and we're very happy about that. Here is where there's been net absorption. You can see in the Vintage Fair Mall, they've done quite well. Cook's Marketplace has been, I think they placed a 70 or 50,000, I'm sorry, 50,000 square foot user there, which was quite nice, but most of them have been fairly small. Rent, this is what has happened in the rent areas. Again, United States is a blue line, so we're under the United States. We've got plenty of growth in that, but the mall you see is doing very well, and we're very happy about that. Construction, I'm not gonna do too much here other than to say that there's not been much construction. There's been some at Mont Vista Crossings in Turlock. There's been the expansion of the Dick's Sporting Goods in the mall. And so, you know, there's been some, but not an awful lot. We're seeing where that is taking off right now. The price of lumber being so high is certainly keeping it down. Here is what has happened. You see there's been lots of construction happening in the last 5 years, and this area has slowed and it's expected to pick up. Sales, there's again been quite a bit of sales. The sales volume is probably the best way to show it by way of graph. That includes the Oak Street recent acquisition of Save Mart, at least 53 of the locations. And here is the sales, the forecast, power centers. You can see that that has done well, and the United States were right in alignment with the I'm sorry, this is cap rates. Sorry, cap rates that were right in line with the United States. And, you know, we used to be that we had better, but in the last 5 or so years, it's just like California, our cap rates have been quite low, except for these power centers where there's been problem tenants. But, you know, it's too bad we can't get a better cap rate here. You have to go out of the state to get the higher cap rates. Here are the sales. I won't again go through that, but here's some of the retail sales that have happened in this area. Okay, the economy we've already gone over. It comes with each section from CoStar, so we're going to skip right through that. And we'll get to office as the last category. And this shows that there's been quite a bit of activity, interestingly enough. And leasing, here we go with the detail. Office vacancies have been tight for many years, including 2021. It was an all-time low of 3.7 in 2000. It has been, net absorption has been negative in the last year, and the first time since 2011. You can appreciate, because of the pandemic, that we've had a decrease in the vacancy of office. Again, going to your next to last paragraph over on the right-hand side, there's only been around a dozen leases that have topped 5,000 square feet. There's two of the most recent deals, Novo Technologies, Tech20, and Medical Alert signed and moved from Modesto to Turlock and took 15,400 feet. Here is the graph. It shows how we've had some net absorption losses recently, and the vacancy went down from 2015. It settled in that around 4 or 5%, and we don't see a bunch of opportunity in the future. We do see that we're quite a bit different than the United States. And so not surprising. Again, the United States is doing better than we are here with our office vacancies and leasing. Availability rates, sorry, is there. Here are some of the bigger projects that have been leased. So, you know, some large ones, but not too many. And here they are listed. Let's go on. Rents. Rents have come down. They are kind of stabilized at this point. There we had higher in the past, but an increase in rents, but we're seeing that they bottomed out somewhat, and we're not seeing a bunch of very much rent increase in the office market. Okay, and here is the rent per square foot. You see that we've had some, but it's been about 2 years and there's not been really any increase. So here are the sales, not too many sales. There we had a family that investment company that did buy the 2 properties on Sanford, 1101 and 1700 for $16.2 million. I know that's of that situation. They were coming out of an exchange. They sold some hotels and wanted to exchange into more stable assets. And then, of course, the Save Mart sale. Here is the sales volume and the market price per square foot. And it's, again, showing that our price per square foot has kind of stabilized right now, increased from 2015, but stabilized and not looking to go up, whereas the United States is looking to go up. And here are the cap rates. Again, the United States is below some of ours cap rates, and again, we anticipate that they will stay leveled for some time. Okay, I believe, oh, here's sales in the last 12 months, and I believe that is the end of my report. It's been long, I'm sorry, but I tried to rush through as quick as I could, so any questions? And I got tongue-tied along the way.
Thank you, Craig. We appreciate that. Definitely a lot of in-depth data, so I appreciate you compiling that for us. Great to see so many different categories of real estate covered in your review, so I appreciate that.
If you have a chance, could you email me your slide deck, please?
Sure.
Thank
Be
you.
more than glad to.
I have a question for Craig, if that's all right.
Certainly.
Sure.
So Craig, with the dropping office occupancy rates in bigger cities like San Francisco, and those subsequent drops having impacts on the residential market there, how do you think that those trends are going to affect us here in the next 5 years or so? Because from what I see, like what happens there kind of hits us like a slow moving wave over the course of, 5, 6, 7 years.
I've been in residential for about 35 years. I moved into commercial about 7 years ago. And I think it was Chris that asked that question, right?
Yeah.
And what I see is more in the residential sector. And Marty will be able to address that. I don't see, what I see is there may be people from the Bay Area that come over here to set up shop on the commercial sector, but I don't see it as much. We're seeing it in residential and multifamily, which I did not cover. At least that's we're seeing. We're not, and because more and more people are working from home, they're able to move out into the suburbs and out into our area and not have to go into the city areas, except maybe a few times a month. And so I see that. I hope to see, more office coming this way. And certainly we've seen in the last 5-6 years a surge, really 10 years, a surge in the industrial sector. But I don't see so much it's going to be slow. Dave White can answer that, address that question too. But I don't see, typically I've been in business about 40 plus years, and I see the wave. It's always what happens in the Bay Area that a year and a half to 2.5 years later, it comes here. I don't see that same wave, and the pandemic and stay at home working has just kind of thrown it off. And it's hard to predict that unless we can attract high tech, it's not going to be too much change in the commercial sector.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, and we could all swami and predict, with our crystal balls, but I've been operating under the assumption that we're 20,000 units low on housing, which is causing a lot of pressure in the rental market, and then operating under the assumption that we should be pushing policies to generate more units. Yeah. But if the wave that's going to hit us is going to cause the opposite problem, which is a glut, should we be anticipating that policy now and not be pushing that? That's the question I'm asking. I don't know if it's the right answer or not, and that's why I'm trying to get some guidance here.
Well, I definitely feel like we've got to keep up with the demand. We've got to, for the first time, I've said this for 20 years, that we need more residential. And otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else, Chris. And I think we need to have smart growth and appropriate growth. And another factor that I think it has borne itself out in this review is that whatever we do on the commercial side, industrial side, it needs to be along freeways. That's what they want, this close to freeways. And so, and if we build residential outside of the freeway corridors, we need to have ways to get people to that part of the county where we can handle residential. So I think we're so far beyond the curve. And again, Marty, his report will probably show you that more in depth than I can say, is that we're so far behind the curve on the residential side that we really need to pay attention to that for the time being, and at the same time build our job centers. So, and if we don't build job centers, they'll never come here. We'll always be a bedroom community. And that's one of the personal fights I've been in with our community, is to not have it be just a bedroom community. So we've got to plan smart and do both at the same time.
Thank you, Craig.
So thank you, Chris, for the question. I appreciate that. And also Dave for jumping in on the chat there. That's great too. Just some good perspective for us. Craig, I do want to thank you again for your presentation and your preparation for us today, and sharing those things with us. I think you've teed it up well for us to transition and segue right over to Marty. And perhaps if there's further questions for you, we can take those offline. But I do want to go ahead and be respectful of everybody's time and transition over to Marty at this point. If we can do that and take a little bit deeper dive into the residential side. Very much anticipating, Marty, what you have to share with us. So I'll turn it over to you, and we can have you take it away from there.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, Craig, for your awesome report. These numbers are not easy to present, in an exciting manner, and it's tough, but they're super important. And we certainly appreciate, everything that you put together there in that report. I want to start off by saying it's a little unfortunate that I chose this white background with my bald head. I'm not really an alien. I'm kind of normal. But anyway, let's go ahead and share my screen. Share this PowerPoint here, and we'll dive into the residential part. Oops. Jumped in there. Okay, so residential real estate outlook and trends, and we're going to kind of be focusing mostly on Modesto, but it's important to know what the entire country is doing as well, because everyone's kind of in the same boat. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but for the most part, we're going to stick to kind of mostly Modesto. To start it off, this is a bit about me. I'm the 2021 LAR president. And that's Lodi Association of Realtors. I'm a California Association of Realtors director. I'm the broker and owner of Hackworth Real Estate. We've got about 25 active realtors that work underneath of us. We do almost exclusively residential. We own a solar company, and then I personally also flip and build houses as well. I've written a book on real estate, and these are kind of all the things that I like to do for fun here to the left. So a little bit about me, and there's my contact info on there. I'll flash this screen at the end also if anyone would like to ask any questions or reach out privately. So here's the story, right? Low inventory has been driving the market nearly my entire career. And I started in real estate in 2004 as an agent, and I went through, the bad time in 2006 and sold some houses then, and luckily survived and made it through the craziness of 2008, where it was really almost impossible to make a living. And just about literally that whole time, what's been driving the market from buyers and sellers' point has been low inventory. We've never really, in my entire career, to be honest, in this Central Valley, we've never really had a scenario where we had what most of us would call a regular amount of inventory. So here you can see here, I got to move this up so I can kind of see. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so from 2006 to 2020, this kind of shows you where we are for months of inventory. We had a little bit of inventory there in 2007 and 2008, and then it slowly, steeply declined to where we are today. And if we take a closer look at Modesto specifically in the past year, we've dropped an average inventory from 2.1 months of average inventory to just half a month, which is just absolutely insane. And here you can see, I pulled up some statistics yesterday from the MLS. This is currently in Modesto here. We have 139 active properties. And now these are just residential houses. I didn't include any commercial. I didn't include any condos or any 2 to 4 units or 5+ units or any apartments or anything like this. Is just residential. So yesterday in Modesto, you guys had 139 active listings, which I'm certain in a normal market would be closer to around 300 or 400. Here you can see in the last month, we've had 206 solds of the same type of properties there in Modesto, and you get all the averages, and they're probably on par with what's going on. And here is combining them both. So we've had 137 actives yesterday. There's been 206 closed properties in the last month. So that tells you there's 0.67 months of inventory in Modesto today. If people continue to buy at the same rate they've been buying at, in 3/4 of 1 month, all the homes available would be sold. And that's really, again, the main driving force of what's going on. Real estate, especially residential real estate, is supply and demand. It's as simple as any other sales tactic or any other sales commodity that's going on. We're driven by the same thing. And for us, demand is high and supply is low. And so what are the effects of this low inventory, the political climate? And I won't get too political on us. The mass exodus from California that we keep hearing about, record low interest rates. We talk a lot about it, but what's actually going on? What effects are these actually having on the market itself and on the agents? And I cruise a lot of Facebook to check out what these agents are posting and what's going on. And I belong to a lot of these private groups, so I can see what's going on across the nation. And here's what it is, not homeless, just trying to find a house for my buyer. Hi there, I received your purchase offer, but it's completely blank. Yeah, just have your sellers fill it out and sign it. We've looked at 100 of them, we can't find one. You know, this person on the top right just got an offer 20% over asking. There was a lady in Texas that posted a house a few months ago. I couldn't find it, but she had 95 offers in the first week. This poor lady over here, has anyone even gotten an FHA or a VA buyer under contract? I'm exhausted. My listing had 20 offers. I need to send 19 emails to buyers agents that didn't get picked. And so that's creating some craziness in the market, how listing agents are responding and the attitudes that buyers are having to that. This one was funny here. Back in my day, I used to see the house before making an offer, show you to ground, let's get you back to bed. That's kind of the climate of what's going on. You don't have time to even breathe. And this lady over here is saying the house went on the market and there's already multiple offers received. And that's just par for the course. And that's what everyone's saying. And that's what we're seeing across the nation. Crazy, crazy, crazy times. These are actual deals that took place in my office within the last 60 days. So the one on the top left there, that's a house in Stockton on what I would grade, as around a C+ neighborhood right across the street from a school. We listed it, it comped out at 330. I think we listed it at around 340. We had 10 offers and an escalation clause in there, where someone said, hey, we'll pay over whatever existing offer you have up to this much amount of money is what an escalation clause is. And that house closed at $381,000. It looks cute on the outside. It was grandma's house. She passed away, not inside the house, but it has textured wallpaper and just a kitchen from the 70s. It needs updating like you wouldn't believe in it. And it sold for higher than anything else has gone. Same with this one in Galt. We had 9 offers, sold higher than any house in the area. Cute house, but it's right at the end of a T of another street, tees right into it. So it's not one that usually would fly off the market like that with so much craziness, but they just can't get one. And then I'm going to show you guys my favorite one right now. This is in Lodi. This house is going to close today. This house appraised last summer at $250,000. That was in 2020 when the person who owned it passed away. I'm working with his wife, or with his daughter, excuse me. This house is 768 square feet. You can see to the right of it there is a giant multi-unit building. So it's not a super ideal location, although it's in a nicer part of Lodi. There's no garage, single pane windows. 2 of them are broken. The kitchen's tiny, no dishwasher. There's mold. The house is pink. The laundry is literally outside on the back porch. I listed that thing at $299 and we got offers and had appraised at $315. No central heat and air, needs a new roof. I mean, it's $410 a foot. We just don't usually see those prices. We haven't seen those prices in Lodi, even going back to 2006, at $410 a foot, unless it's something downtown that's, totally epic. So interesting stuff. And this buyer, they came from Sacramento. And same thing, what they commented to us, even getting it at such a high prices, they're so thankful because they're just exhausted. They're exhausted. They're tired of looking. Their agent's tired of looking. They've been outbid on 25 other homes and they were about ready to give up. So also what effect it's having is this days on market, what's going on now. So in the blue and the green on the left there, we can see this is national, what's going on now. 2 years ago, we were at 24 days on market average, 4 years, almost 40 days on market average. Right now, the national average in April is 17 days on market. So you got 2 weeks to get your butt out there and get looking at that house or else it's gone. And same thing that we're seeing from Modesto, and the changes for year on year is crazy. 42% change, in time on market. Yesterday, I think showed, or last month showed 16 days on market average for Modesto. So Modesto is actually outpacing the nation in low days on market as well. So that's also creating the stress that we all feel in this market. What else is happening? Of course, prices are rising. You can see here, we've had a steady rise in Modesto of average price per square foot, which, kind of is a good way to compare houses across multiple areas, multiple sizes. When you look at price per square foot, it kind of helps you compare them all together. So we can see that prices have been super steady rising. And the year on year and month on month changes are going up as well down there on the bottom. 21% year over year change since last year. So what does it take right now to get a home for a buyer? And the unfortunate answer is it's things that make buyers uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is in the Bay Area, it's quite common for people to write offers with no contingencies, no inspections, no way to back out, big deposit. The sellers have already completed all their inspections and they're there for everyone to look at. And so they write the offers like that. out here, we don't typically have sellers do inspections. Sellers don't typically want to do any inspections. They want the buyers to do them. So buyers write offers with contingency periods, meaning they can back out and get their deposit back if the deal fails because of inspections. Well, right now, that's a hard time. If you're putting contingencies in your offer, you're having a hard time getting them accepted. And here's one right now I can show you guys that failed for us. And so this is one that was listed at 629,000. I showed the comps to be at about 580. We offered 634, no loan contingency. So no matter what the loan comes in at, this guy, if it comes in at 200 grand, this guy will pay the extra cash over the appraisal. Huge down payment, big deposit, as is sale, and the seller countered the top 8 offers, and we didn't even get a counter, so we didn't make the top 8, which is absolutely crazy. And what it closed at was 670 all cash, 0 contingencies. So that one, you know, the buyer was heartbroken, but we weren't even close. This one here is one I just got accepted in Discovery Bay, so it shows you what we had to do. They listed at 599. The comps were approximately 600, maybe 580 if we really tried to break it down. We offered 635, no loan contingency. Buyer pays any amount over a short appraisal up to that 635, so it could come in way short. Huge down payment, big deposit, and we allowed the seller to stay there rent-free until June 15th. So that house closed a while back, and the seller is still there living there, and that's what it took for these guys to get a house. We probably wrote offers on 15 other houses that were denied that were great offers. So this is an interesting statistic here. NAR is saying almost 50% of the homes sold for more than list price, and 25% of those sales were cash. And what we're seeing is that buyers are starting to lose hope, and it's sad, and it's hard to compete with these cash buyers, and where they're coming from and how they're getting their cash, you know, is a topic all its own that we could go on about for hours, and potentially have some unpopular opinions, but you know, foreign buyers who aren't citizens here are able to compete with money from different economies that we don't know anything about, and it's unfair. And in my opinion, that's a big factor as to why it drives prices up so high in our area. So are people really leaving California? You know, I've questioned this because we're seeing all these things. People are leaving California. They're selling their rentals because of the statewide rent control. But what's not being reflected in those truths is where are the listings? There's literally no listings. You know, I just showed you Modesto had like 134. I think Lodi had like 40, and we should have, you know, nearly 10 times that amount. So checking on statistics, are people really leaving? Are they lying to us? Well, yeah, people are really leaving. Here's the statistics. You know, first time in decades, or maybe even the history since they've been doing it, that we're actually going to drop population. And so where are all the houses? Inventory is down all over the country. Our iBuyers started thinking our iBuyers having a profound effect on the market. What is an iBuyer? Zillow, Redfin, Opendoor, OfferPad, many of these other online companies are bringing an iBuyer option to the table, where literally they want you to be able to click to sell your house and click to potentially get into a new one. They're backed by Wall Street investors. They don't necessarily focus on ugly houses like local investors, we buy houses type guys. They're focusing on move-in ready homes that they want to buy up and flip quickly. And prior to closing, what they're going to do is add additional fees, including a crazy 9% experience fee from Zillow and some of these others. They come with repairs to the closing table and a bunch of other junk fees that just get laid on these sellers at the closing table when they don't know their rights and they're under duress and they don't have anyone really representing their best interest. And so these iBuyers are something that we're trying to make sure we educate everyone on, and make sure that we understand what they're all about, and what their fees are, and what they intend to do. Last year in 2020, experts were saying iBuyers lost a ton of their market share. But I have a strange feeling this year that it's going to be bouncing back, especially, you know, if people start getting out and they're going to be really pouring a lot of money into this and pouring a lot of money into the marketing of it. They're not really bound by a code of ethics. Zillow is actually a realtor, but NAR doesn't really seem to care at this point about Zillow's, you know, extensive code of ethics violations. And so Zillow is also in a lawsuit with the company out of San Francisco. So it'd be interesting to watch what goes on with that. They're claiming that they're using totalitarian tax rates. It's an interesting lawsuit how it's worded, but it's a good one to look into and follow. But Zillow has so much money for attorneys, I'm not sure that will go anywhere. So and what I've realized has happened is that even though inventory is down at any given moment, it's true that people are leaving, it's true that people are selling. Inventory and number of sales is higher. So even though inventory at any given moment might be low, it's because they're going on and coming off so quickly. The actual number of sales, as you can see by the red line there, the sales that went pending, the dark green bar went sold, they're climbing. So we can see that it's reflecting of what they're telling us in the media and what's going on. There are more home sales happening. It's just not, the inventory is not enough to keep pace of the sales. And so it constantly looks like we have this inventory shortage, which we do, but sales are actually increasing, and you can see the changes and the percentage there on the bottom as well. Could there be light at the end of the tunnel for buyers? So this is a 24-hour market watch that I pulled up yesterday, and this includes basically all of the Central Valley, from anywhere from north of Sacramento down to you guys and even into Merced. And you can see there on the right-hand side, just under the dot or just above the dotted line, price reductions, 179. That's something that we haven't seen in a long time. There haven't been price reductions. People have just been listing houses higher than whatever the last one sold and whatever it felt like. And for the most part, they've been selling. Every now and then they missed the mark by 100% and it's off price reduction. But we haven't been seeing these price reductions like we are starting to see finally now. And you're finally starting to see people reporting, hey, I got my FHA offer accepted. I got my VA buyer accepted. These are types of loans that sellers typically feel are weaker type of loans than a conventional or obviously or a cash deal. I don't feel that way. I feel FHA, and especially God bless our veterans, have an amazing program. And I've never personally had a VA appraisal come in short or had a trouble on that deal. But the consensus of what the opinion is out there is different than that. But we're finally starting to see these price reductions. We're finally starting to see some people celebrate and get some houses under contract for their buyers. So some things to consider as everything appears really rosy and great, and it's impossible to get a house and the economy is just thriving. Some things to consider to pump the brakes on a little bit. Forbearance agreements, broken down by types of loans, almost 10% of FHA and VA buyers on forbearance. Forbearance means that you stop making your payment, and what's going to happen on that forbearance loan depends on what goes on with your lender. Hopefully, the majority of these lenders convert these loans onto the back end, and so it doesn't affect the buyer at all. They start making their payments again. The payments that they missed are added to the back end. If we have a significant portion that don't do that and dump a lump sum of 4 to 6 to 8 months payments on these borrowers, foreclosures could get out of control. The total number of foreclosures right now are currently low, but it's a good statistic to watch and signs of a changing market. Another reason that foreclosures are really low right now is there are moratoriums. In addition to the forbearance agreements, there are moratoriums right now that are actually stifling foreclosures and preventing them from being filed. So that's also having a significant effect on the number that are out there. We're seeing increased cost of living, gas, taxes, food, and over cost of living. All of this is going to affect buyers' buying power and their debt to income ratio. I'm wondering personally how long they can hang on, paying some of these prices and maxing themselves out as the market and the economy changes. I put a little blurb in there about cryptocurrencies. I don't know much about it. That's why I call it the great unknown. I think it's possible that the majority of these investors are first-time thousandaires who haven't even ever recognized the gain. They're talking a lot about, I've got 20, 30 grand in crypto, but they've never sold. They've never really recognized these gains. And my concern is, as the economy changes and potentially the real estate market changes, can these small-time, first-time investors hold on to that? Is there going to be a great sell-off of that? I don't know. These are just things I'm throwing out there. I don't know anything about it, but interesting things to think about. And building costs right now are just absolutely through the moon. Lumber, steel, concrete, supplies, it's impossible to get anything. And if you can, the prices are astronomical. So one contributing factor to the strength of the house prices that we've talked about are these forbearances. And this talks about it right now. And they're saying almost 10% of them. And this is a quote direct from the Federal Reserve, just to show you guys I'm not making these things up. And it's not, any weird far right or far left organizations that are trying to throw out, statistics. This is actually coming from the federalreserve.gov. So stuff we can really count on. So they're going to be an issue. So how do we? So COVID-19 it's triggered these housing affordability crisis. Today, 1 in 5 renters are behind on rent, and over 10 million homeowners are behind on mortgage payments. So this is from whitehouse.gov, and it tells what they're doing to help this market. And so in February of 2016, or I'm sorry, February 16th of 2021, they posted this, and they extended the foreclosure moratorium through June 30th. They extended the mortgage forbearance enrollment window until June 30th. And they're also providing an additional 6 months of additional mortgage forbearance agreement. So what's going on is, in my opinion, is we appear to be band-aiding a problem, and we appear to be adding band-aids when we might really need a dam to hold back what's going on here. We don't know the exact numbers of how many of these people are in for potential foreclosure or potential forbearance, but I think I fear that it's staggering. So here's some foreclosure statistics, and it shows some actually good news. You know, from 2010, we kind of hit the height of foreclosure, and you can see that ever since then, we've been steadily dropping in the number of foreclosures, and into last year and this year, it's gone way down. My concern is why, what's going on, and I fear that the mark should be actually kind of turning and starting to go back up, but these forbearance agreements and the foreclosure moratoria aren't allowing that to happen. So I feel that we're looking at skewed statistics here, unfortunately. These guys, you know, this is a quote from another government moratoria, from the executive vice president of Realty Track, who's really famous for studying trends and things like that. He says it's still highly unlikely that we'll see another wave of foreclosures like the one we had during the Great Recession, but it's troubling that he says we won't really know how big that backlog is until after these programs expire. So this is also from CoreLogic, another pretty famous foreclosure tracker. I just wanted to kind of show you guys what's going on. Even though things look really rosy, we did have a 2% increase in foreclosures from last year over year in February. So could be starting to tell a little bit different picture of what's going on. So to recap here, inventory homes for sales is at historically low all over the nation, despite the fact that sales are high. Modesto inventory is even lower than the national average, with less than 1 month of inventory active on the market today. Realtors are having a hard time finding buyers' homes and also dealing with the sheer number of offers and responding to agents, and it's causing some animosity. Nearly all homes have multiple offers almost immediately once they hit the market. The number of days on market are at an all-time low, both across the country and specifically in Modesto. Prices have been steadily increasing for months. In order to win bidding wars, buyers are having to pay over asking, remove contingencies, guarantee money over short appraisal, allow free rent backs to sellers, and act at a furious pace. Buyers and realtors are getting discouraged. Some price reductions are starting to pop up. Forbearance agreements are lurking in the background, could lead to some foreclosures. Moratoriums are lurking in the background and are going to end soon, and there's talk that it could lead to a over 100% increase in the number of foreclosures. Cost of living is increasing daily. Cryptocurrency could play a role, and building costs are through the moon. For me, this is my opinion. Now we're just talking my opinion. I'm super conservative, and so I don't like having money out there when I'm not sure what's going on, and when I'm not positive or confident that the market's going to continue. So for me personally, I've liquidated all of our family's real estate assets other than the home that we live in, and preps for a better buying opportunity in the future. Please don't read that the wrong way. Please don't read that as prepping for a crash. I'm not sure that it will be any type of a crash, and there's nothing really to support that until we see these numbers. What I am banking on is some type of correction in the market that slows down as demand may decrease and inventory supply may increase. So I'm planning myself and preparing for better buying opportunities, not necessarily anything like a crash that we saw before. My family had bought a lot in Acampo, California, right here, just north of Lodi. And we were planning on building a house, to live in. We're not millionaires, so the idea was to build it and live in it for 2 years and then sell it. Unfortunately, the cost of lumber and every single bit of it has gone up so high. I think we're potentially beyond break even, and it's an investment for us. So rather than go forward on that, I sold the lot. And the final step in that for us was calling on a 30 by 60 steel shop last summer. Materials were about $35K. I called last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, to try and move that forward now, and it's at $70K. And framing and trusses and stuff for a 25 square foot home has nearly doubled, with building materials and all, being hard to get. So this feels eerily like 2006, although the factors are way different. There's not a, hopefully not a backlog of 1 in every 92 homeowners being in foreclosure like it was in 2006. I don't see anything like that. I'm just cautiously optimistic as an investor that we'll see some type of loosening and change, and potentially a slight downturn in the market. And my prediction is that could happen sometime around the end of summer. So that's kind of what I'm predicting. Again, I'm super conservative. I don't want it to be negative Nancy sounding. I don't want it to be sky is falling preaching type of sounding material. But when you look at $400 a foot in downtown Lodi for a 700 square foot pink house with no garage and, literally no amenities, that's insane, and that's unsustainable. And so I'm hoping that we have, a slight correction, not in that puts people in foreclosure or anything like that, but, that just makes it a little bit easier for buyers. But for right now, sellers are celebrating, and it's a great time to sell anything. So that's all I have. I tried to mow through it pretty quick. I know it's a lot of information. A lot of it's a little bit boring because it's statistically driven. Same with Craig on the commercial stuff. So we try to make it kind of as fun as possible, but here's all my information. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, I'm available to hang out here on the call now, and anyone is welcome to reach out to me personally.
Fantastic, Marty. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I really do appreciate that. I know we've got maybe just another 4 or 5 minutes here to wrap up our time. So if there are any other specific questions, we can jump in, and feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Marty, I'll ask the same when you have a chance. If you could send me your slide deck, we'll keep that and include it with our minutes going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you shoot me an email when we're done with this, and I'll send it on?
Sure.
Marty, this is Kelly. I'm over at Vantage Fair, and I'd just be curious. I don't know if you have this statistic or not. Thank you for the presentation that you did first. Let me say that. How many, and you're in Lodi, I understand, what percentage of houses that are being sold in Lodi are being sold through what you would call an online realtor, a realtor that literally doesn't show up and help you do anything, you just contract with over the internet?
That's a great question, and thank you guys so much for having me again. I don't think that scenario is very many. I think that's going to be kind of more of your FSBO, your for sale by owner, that's taking advantage of some of these agents that are willing to put your house on the MLS for like a flat fee and then not do anything. My guess would be that, it's around 5% or less of the market. I think most of what's going on right now are full service sales with local and Bay Area buyers competing along with investors together. And like Craig had mentioned, a lot of people are moving or, are able to work from home now. And so I think they're driving a big percentage of it too. I'll be anxious to see as these quarters move along, what the iBuyer scenario, what their real statistics are, because they were really falling on their face at the end of last quarter and reporting some big losses. But they're not stopping, and there seems to be more of them, and they're pumping more money into it. So I'd like to see, what those show for statistics. But I think it's just the homes are getting scooped up so fast. I think it's regular transacting going on. It's just they're getting scooped up so fast. We have a hard time seeing them on the market.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Marty, this is Kirsty from the State Theater. When people do like you did with your family and sell all your real estate because you get an amazing price on your house, where do you go? And there's no rentals.
Right. For us, we kept the one that we lived in. So I didn't sell the house I live in. We live in downtown Lodi, which is an awesome area. We love it down here. I'm from Lodi and grew up here. But to be honest, the homeless is getting really out of control right where we are. My kid can't play in the front yard and stuff like that. So we wanted to move out into the country, and that's why we bought that lot. But it wasn't ideal. It was just more of like an investment. My wife gives horse riding lessons to special needs kids, and so she wants to start another ranch out here in San Joaquin area. So that's kind of what we're going to shift our focus to now, is making sure she has enough land to fulfill that. But yeah, rentals are insane. For people looking for a rental right now, it breaks my heart. I feel like I'm a professional in this. I have contacts everywhere. We have agents that work for us. I'm the president of the local association. If there's someone that's going to know about a rental, it's probably going to be me. And my dear friends call me asking for help looking for one. And I'm of zero, I mean, less than zero help. There are no rentals. I can't see the chat either. I don't know if any chats or any chat questions are going, or if anybody else had any questions.
I appreciate it, Marty. This is Bill. I'll jump back in here, and I do really very much appreciate your presentation and your perspective. It means a great deal to us, and certainly many of us, not our first rodeo in the residential real estate market. We've been watching trends for a long time, and hopefully as the market moves, it will be more of a pendulum swing style rather than a balloon pop type of environment. So I know we'd all like to see more the former than the latter.
Absolutely.
Trying to avoid an abrupt market, right? But I do appreciate your perspective, and certainly glad you were able to join us today. You're certainly welcome to join us in future months as well. And as discussed, real estate is a humongous economic indicator in our area, and the way that you operate in the region here puts you in a good spot to be a sounding board. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us. So,
thank you guys so much for having me. And again, just real quick, I just want to again reiterate, I'm super conservative, and I'm hesitant always to give my opinion at the end. But I thought it would be appropriate for this group to give it. And I'm super conservative, and I don't want it to come off as crazier than what I think is happening.
Very good. I appreciate that statement too, Marty. Thank you for that. And we will definitely look forward to resuming next month. If I can kind of wrap us up here, we are just a minute shy of our time. And so our next meeting will be a little bit later into the month. We're looking at July 7th. And so at that time, we will still be virtually on Zoom. We'll get information out about that, and very much looking forward to hearing a presentation from Kelly Talent with Vintage Fair and on the property management side and those things and retail. So we're looking forward to a very good conversation there. If you know of anybody that would be benefited by participating in or hearing about that presentation, that would be fantastic. We'll be sending out meeting information for the July 7th meeting at 11:30. And again, we are pretty much every first Wednesday of the month here throughout the year between 11:30 and 1. And would love to have you come back and join us at that time. So I want to thank Craig for your time and presentation, Marty for yours as well, and both of your gentlemen's expertise today. And we will go ahead at 1 o'clock here and close the meeting. Look forward to seeing you back next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.